Top 10 Fascinating Facts about the Endeavour. Discover the astonishing history of the Endeavour, from its humble beginnings to becoming a global icon of exploration. Dive into the most thrilling moments of its history and how this ship transformed our world. Number 10. Original design for cargo. The Endeavour sailing ship began its life under a very different name and purpose, Earl of Pembroke. Built at the Thomas Fishburn shipyard in Whitby, England, in 1764, its design was robust and spacious, intended primarily for transporting coal along the British coast. Its construction of oak, chestnut, and fir wood, with a round and wide hull, provided the necessary durability to withstand the weight and abuse of heavy loads, making it ideal for the turbulent and shallow waters it often encountered on its route. This type of ship was known as a Whitby catboat, highly valued at that time for its ability to carry significant volumes of goods while maintaining good maneuverability. Despite its rugged appearance, these boats were surprisingly agile, allowing captains to navigate through estuaries and harbors with relative ease. The choice of this type of vessel for a mission as important as the one the Endeavour would eventually undertake was no coincidence, but a testament to its reliability and capability to be adapted to very different needs from those for which it was originally conceived. The transformation of the Earl of Pembroke into the Endeavour marked the beginning of a new life for the ship, where it went from being a humble coal transporter to an explorer of new worlds. The robustness it once used to transport natural resources would be crucial to withstand the rigors of transoceanic journeys and explorations in unknown territories. Number 9. Scientific transformation. When preparing for its most famous voyage under the command of James Cook, the Endeavour required a series of significant modifications to transform it from a cargo ship into a vessel of exploration and scientific study. This conversion process included expanding its deck spaces to facilitate the assembly of mobile observatories and the installation of additional equipment necessary for conducting experiments and astronomical observations at sea. Special compartments were added to store the numerous instruments, such as telescopes and quadrants, as well as to preserve the botanical and biological samples that would be collected during the expedition. In addition to these technical adaptations, the interior of the ship was reorganized to comfortably accommodate a diverse team that included not only sailors but also scientists and artists. This was a significant change in the design of ships that traditionally focused only on the efficiency of maritime transport. Additional living spaces and work areas were created for figures like Joseph Banks and his team of naturalists and draftsmen to perform their work during the long months at sea. These modifications not only physically transformed the Endeavour but also changed its role in the history of exploration. The ship, which once transported coal from one English port to another, was now equipped to carry out one of the most important scientific expeditions of the time, combining geographical exploration with scientific advancement in a way that few ships had done before. Number 8. A mission of royalty. The journey of the Endeavour, under the command of Captain James Cook in 1768, was not just a scientific expedition, but also a mission loaded with political and royal significance. The expedition was commissioned by the Royal Society, the leading scientific academy in Britain, but had direct sponsorship and interest from King George III. The primary goal of this mission was to observe the transit of Venus from Tahiti, an astronomical event that occurs in pairs separated by more than a century, but crucial for calculating the distance between the Earth and the Sun, thereby improving nautical measurements and precision in navigation. The selection of Cook as leader and the inclusion of prominent scientists like Joseph Banks reflected the importance that the Crown and the scientific community placed on this mission. Royal funding allowed the Endeavour to be adequately equipped not only with the necessary supplies for a long journey but also with the most advanced scientific instruments of the time. In addition, detailed guidelines were provided to meticulously document everything observed during the journey, from astronomical phenomena to details of the indigenous peoples and the flora and fauna encountered. This support not only underscored the monarch's commitment to advancing scientific and geographical knowledge, but also positioned the Endeavour's expedition as a key piece in the expansion of British interests abroad, marking the beginning of an era in which exploration and science went hand in hand with diplomacy and colonization. Number 7. Unexpected circumnavigation. Although it was not the primary goal of its mission, the Endeavour stood out as one of the first ships to perform a planned circumnavigation of the Earth. This achievement was not merely a geographical milestone but represented a key moment in the history of maritime exploration. After departing from England and sailing west, Cook and his crew crossed the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans and finally returned home through the Indian Ocean and around the Cape of Good Hope. This route not only allowed them to achieve their scientific goal of observing the transit of Venus and Tahiti, but also led the crew to explore places never before mapped by Europeans, including several islands in the South Pacific and the eastern coast of Australia. The circumnavigation also allowed the Endeavour to map extensive areas of the Pacific and provided a much more complete understanding of the world, especially in terms of geography and oceanography. The detailed nautical charts that Cook and his team developed during the voyage were invaluable aids for future maritime expeditions and underscored the importance of scientific exploration and navigation. Moreover, this circumnavigation of the globe challenged and expanded the known boundaries of the habitable and navigable world. Upon returning to England, the crew of the Endeavour brought back not only maps and geographical discoveries but also a treasure trove of knowledge that would change the European perception of the world and its seas. This journey was not just a feat of endurance and navigation but also a cruise of discovery that opened new routes and possibilities for future trade and exploration. Number 6. Encounter with Australia. The Endeavour played a crucial role in the history of European exploration by being the first ship to reach the east coast of Australia in 1770. This encounter was not only significant for the arrival itself but for what it represented in terms of territorial and scientific expansion for Britain. Under the command of James Cook, the ship arrived at a point that would later be known as Botany Bay, due to the wide variety of plant species that Joseph Banks and his team of naturalists were able to catalog in this area. Cook, using advanced cartography techniques of his time, took meticulous notes and maps of the coast, which allowed Britain to claim possession of this vast and unknown territory. The arrival of the Endeavour on the Australian coast not only marked the beginning of what would eventually become a series of British colonizations on the continent but also opened a new chapter in the study and understanding of indigenous cultures, Australian fauna, and flora. This first contact also laid the groundwork for future encounters and expeditions, and although the consequences of these encounters were often devastating for the local indigenous populations, the voyage of the Endeavour to Australia is a defining moment in the history of global exploration. The information gathered by Cook and his crew not only enriched European geographical and natural knowledge of the Southern Hemisphere but also demonstrated the importance of integrated exploration, combining geography, biology, and cultural encounter. Number 5. A boost to science. The Endeavour was not just a vessel for geographical exploration, it was also a floating laboratory for the advancement of the natural sciences. On board traveled Joseph Banks, a renowned naturalist and botanist, along with a dedicated team of scientists and artists. His presence transformed the ship into a center of scientific research, where plants, animals, and minerals never before seen by European science were collected, catalogued, and studied. During the journey, Banks and his team collected around 1,400 plant species and hundreds of animal specimens, many of which were described for the first time. This vast collection not only helped to expand considerably the botanical and zoological knowledge in Europe but also stimulated further interest in studies on biodiversity and the environment. The drawings and samples taken became valuable resources for future studies and increased scientific understanding of the regions visited. The investment in science during the Endeavour expedition highlighted the growing recognition of the importance of scientific knowledge and its practical application. This expedition marked a turning point, showing how journeys of exploration could contribute significantly to scientific advancement, in addition to meeting geopolitical and navigational objectives. The collaboration between sailors, cartographers, and scientists aboard the Endeavour established a model for future expeditions and underscored the fundamental role of science in the expansion and understanding of the world. Number 4. Surviving disasters. One of the most dramatic episodes in the history of the Endeavour occurred in 1770 when the ship ran aground on a coral reef in the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. This incident tested the endurance of the ship and the skill of its crew under extreme conditions. The situation was critical. The hull of the Endeavour had been punctured, and water began to flood the compartments. The crew's quick and effective response was crucial for saving the ship. Under Cook's orders, cannons and other weights were thrown into the sea to lighten the ship's load and raise the hull above the reef. Additionally, a technique called fothering was used, which involved creating a large patch with sails and debris placed over the damaged area of the hull to reduce water ingress. This temporary maneuver allowed the Endeavour to stay afloat long enough to perform more substantial repairs. This event not only demonstrated Cook's ability as a leader and the skill of his crew in handling emergencies, but also the resilience of the Endeavour. The necessary repairs were carried out on the shore, where the ship was temporarily beached to allow more extensive work on the hull. This incident is a testament to the constant challenge of maritime navigation and exploration, and how technical innovation and effective leadership can overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Number 3. End of an era. After completing its historic mission of exploration, the Endeavour did not return to a life of perpetual glory. Instead, its fate was much more mundane and ultimately dark. Sold by the Royal Navy in 1775, the ship that once carried scientists and explorers across unknown oceans was renamed as Lord Sandwich. Its new function was to transport troops and prisoners, a task far removed from its previous role in the expansion of human knowledge. During the American War of Independence, the Lord Sandwich was used as a prison ship in Newport Bay, Rhode Island. Here, the ship that had been a symbol of discovery and adventure became a floating jail, housing captured soldiers in conditions that sharply contrasted with its illustrious past. This change reflects not only the final fate of the physical ship but also that of many vessels of its time that transitioned from icons of exploration to tools of war and repression. The decline of the Endeavour from an emissary of exploration to a mere transport of prisoners illustrates the evolution and often the tragic end of many ships of the sail era. Its final days as Lord Sandwich served as a somber reminder of the impermanence of the roles assigned to objects by humans, depending on the political and economic needs of their time. Number 2. Rediscovery and Legacy. For a long time, it was believed that the remains of the Endeavour, renamed as Lord Sandwich, had been lost forever in the depths of time and the ocean. However, recent research has suggested that the remains of the ship might be at the bottom of Newport Harbor, Rhode Island. This discovery has sparked renewed interest from marine archaeologists and historians who see in these remains a tangible connection with the maritime past of exploration and science. The potential finding of the remains of the Endeavour not only offers an opportunity to recover a piece of naval history but also represents a site of significant maritime heritage. Efforts to identify and preserve what remains of the ship are key to better understanding not only the history of maritime exploration but also the transformations that ships like the Endeavour experienced throughout their operational lives. This interest in the Endeavour extends beyond archaeology. It symbolizes how the remnants of history can inform our understanding of the present and perhaps offer lessons for the future. In this sense, the search and study of the remains of the Endeavour is an effort to keep alive the legacy of the era of exploration, highlighting the importance of preserving our cultural and historical heritage for future generations. Number 1. Icon of global exploration. The most important fact about the Endeavour sailing ship lies in its status as an icon of global exploration. This ship, through its journeys and the missions it undertook, not only changed the cartography of the world but also facilitated cultural and scientific exchanges that fundamentally reshaped the geographical and natural knowledge of the time. The Endeavour symbolizes the era of exploration, when oceans were not just barriers but pathways that led to new knowledge and connections. Under the command of James Cook, the Endeavour helped map parts of the world that were until then unknown in Europe, contributing to a more complete and detailed understanding of the globe. This work had not only geographical implications but also helped establish and improve relations between Europe and the various cultures they encountered. Additionally, the discoveries made by Cook and his team played a crucial role in the development of several scientific disciplines, including oceanography, ethnography, and ecology. The legacy of the Endeavour extends beyond its nautical and scientific achievements. It represents a period in human history characterized by curiosity and the desire to explore the unknown, driving advances in navigation and intercultural understanding that still resonate today. The ship is not only a testament to the courage and tenacity of those who ventured beyond the known confines of the world, but also a reminder of the enduring impact of those journeys on the expansion of the global horizon.